Hey everyone, I'm going to show you how to insert a saw blade into a Potter USA saw frame. So you'll notice the Potter USA saw frame is just the same as most other traditional saw frames. It's not adjustable, but it has this, basically it's a clamp at the top and the bottom where you will insert your blade. The brass nut is purely decorative. You can use it if you want. In the product listing and then the saw frame instructions, there's a little bit of an explanation about why Kevin included the brass knob. But the first step, I like to insert my blade into the top first. You do want to make sure that your saw blade teeth are pointing down and away from the saw blade, so they're sort of at this angle. You don't want them pointed up or pointed back. You can lightly run your finger along it, and if it goes smoothly, that's the direction the teeth are going. If it catches, that's the cutting direction. So teeth down and out. I'm going to insert my saw blade. You do want to make sure that you tighten this really well. If you don't tighten it, the saw blade will slip. What I'm going to do next, see if you can see, I'll try and focus here. I am holding the saw frame in my hand and pressing forward. You can press it against your sternum. I like to have a little bit more control and not hurt my chest, so I hold it in my hand and then just sort of lean into it, and then I'm going to tighten it. You don't need to press in completely as hard as you can, because there's no need to. It's all about figuring out the correct tension. So let's hear the ping. Sometimes I'll tighten that knob down. You hear that high-pitched ping? That's what you want to hear. I'm going to loosen it and then I'll install it to where it's too loose. So I'm not even going to press into it. I'm going to just tighten it, and then I'll let you hear the sound of a blade that's too loose. That one's very loose, so it's much deeper. I'll press a little bit more, but not fully. Here it's a much more thuddy sound rather than a ping. Okay, so we'll try it again. I'm going to rest the top of the saw blade in the V groove of my bench pin. And I'm going to lean in, tighten that. Make sure it's tight. That higher pitched ping. It is possible to over tighten these. This is a fairly thick blade. I believe it's like a 2/0 or not a 2/0, number 2 or number 1. But if you do have thinner blades, it is possible to over tighten it and it can break. So I'm going to lean into this as much as I can. And sometimes it pops right away. So like that's pretty good. It's probably a little too tight. If this was a thinner blade, it's possible that the tension that the compression of the saw frame puts on the blade, it's possible that it can snap. That's possible with any saw frame. So you kind of just have to figure out what works best for you and how much force is required for you. Let me see if I'll grab a thinner blade. We'll do a 4/0. Oops. That is my general purpose blade of choice. So again, I'm going to rest this in the V groove of my bench. Make sure that the teeth are pointing down and out, sort of like petting a cat. It's good in this direction, and when it bites, you need to make sure that is pointing down. So I'm going to insert my blade. Going to tighten it down. Again, make sure that's really tight. And then I'm going to lean into it. Oops. Guide that in place. I'm pressing the frame this direction, not extremely hard, but I'm leaning my weight into it. And I'm tightening that down. So let's take one more listen. Bing. And that's perfect. So I hope that helps a little bit, learning how to install a saw frame or install a saw blade into a Potter USA saw frame. Make sure these are tight. Make sure that you're not overpressing, and you should be good to go. Thanks, everyone.